Alright, welcome back to Comic History, episode 105. This one is unique because the complaints revolving when this relaunch happened right here. Fantastic Four, when this got relaunched last year. So, the book was randomly relaunched, but it is my personal theory that the reason why it got relaunched because a movie came out for this particular series, and a lot of the time, over the years, every time a movie is released for a certain character, Marvel has to restart the book to number one pretty much as almost every single time a movie comes out. Let's first start with the X-Men movies. In the case of the first three, I've checked this. For X-Men, X-Men X2, X-Men United, and X-Men The Last Stand, and all three times these movies were released, there were no relaunches number one to any X. There's no new X number one released that particular year. First Class, no. Dark Phoenix, yes. There definitely was one. You're like, okay, yeah, because the core happened that very same year. So, Wolverine, for his three movies, were there any relaunches at that time? In the case of X-Wars Wolverine, yes, there was a recent number one. Not the main Wolverine title. That was relaunched the following year in 2010. But there was, in fact, a relaunch that very year in 2009. There was a Wolverine number one, that being Wolverine Weapon X number one. I do count it because there was no number of Wolverine that year. In the case of the Wolverine, yep, definitely was. You might be thinking, what about Logan? Was there a number one release that year? Off the top of my head, yes, but not for Logan. It was actually relaunched for Laura, but as for Logan himself, no. He actually came back the following year. So in the case of Logan himself, no, never was. Spider-Man, of the 5 movies under Sony, for the 3 Sam Raimi movies released in 2002, 2004, and 2007. Now, was there a number one release for Spider-Man release in 2002? No. Not that I know of. I've looked it up. In 2004, was there a restart? I think there was, let's see. So I know Amazing Spider-Man was not relaunched that very year. So that one's out. So you think, okay, in 2000, in 2002, there was none that I know of. No, there was one in 2003, but not 2002. And I'm looking at it right now just to verify it. The fact there was not a relaunch in 2000. Well, not fucking anyways. So, let's see. And looking at it right now, I'm looking at my online. Was it launched in 2002? Nope. In 2004? Nope. In 2007? Let's see. (2007) No. Definitely not 2007. You think, okay. So then we had the 2012 relaunch. The 2012. Well, we had the Amazing Spider-Man movie. So they had Amazing Spider-Man in 2012, but it wasn't restarted. Number one. It wasn't number one released for a couple years. For Amazing Spider-Man 2, there was definitely a new number one release that very year. They ended the Spirit Spider-Man because of the movie coming out. So what about the other movies like Homecoming, which was released in, I think it was like 2016. I think it was. So was it released in 2016? Nope. You're like, okay. In the case, so let's see. Let's see. Far From Home was 2019. Let's see. And look right up. Amazing Spider-Man? No. And this was 2019. There was Marvel Team Up released that year. Yes, Marvel Team was briefly brought back for a 6-issue mini. So, that was brought back. There was the Spider-Man Volume 3, the J. James book. That was launched that year. Okay, so there was one book released in 2004. Spider-Man Limited came back. 15 issues. I almost forgot about that. Sorry about that. So, let's see. Station Spider-Man, it actually ended in 2000, but it wasn't really started. But in the case 2018 for the Spider-Man ended that year. Any launches? Okay, for 2014, there was new number one release that year for Spider-Man 2089, which was awesome. Pretty amazing with that book. Let's see. For the Ultimate Continuity in 2014, book ended. So, the Miles Morales book, it was relaunched that very year. So, we have a few different relaunches. Not a lot of them, but there was a few. In the case of the last one, No Way Home, yes, there was. Actually, no, there was not. So, for Spider-Man, it's only happened a few times over the years, not a lot. In the case of Iron Man, for the very first movie released in 2008, was there Iron Man released that very year? Yes, there was. In 2010, was there a number one release for Iron Man in 2010? No. In Iron Man 3, no. Not Iron Man 3. So, only once. Okay. How about Thor? Was there any new number ones released these particular years? For Thor, the very first movie, yes. Basically, the Mighty Thor got released that very year. In I believe it was 2014, I believe it was, when they released, was it 2013 they released, 2013 Thor Dark World. If I remember correctly, I think there was number one release that very year, and that was Thor God of Thunder. Okay, how about Thor Ragnarok? Was number one release that year? This was 2017 this movie came out, and I don't think so, no. What about Love and Thunder? For Love and Thunder, let's see, I don't think so, no. Let's see. Actually, it was launched in 2022. My mistake. So the answer for Thor Dark World, no. For Thor Ragnarok, released 2017, yeah, no, definitely was not. But what about Love and Thunder? Nope. So I'd say it's only happened once, just the very first movie. Okay, what about Captain America for his like 4 movies he's released? The first movie, yes, definitely. In the sequel, Civil War, I'm trying to think. I don't know. Civil War did not have. There was no new Captain one to release every year, so that. Trying to think. No, there wasn't. Nope. Civil War for that particular year. Yes, there was, just around the same period of time, except it was Steve Rogers, Captain America #1. Okay. In the case of the last one that came out, Captain America Braving the World, yes, there definitely was. Except the book only lasted 5 issues. So I would say of the 4 movies, I would say, at the top of my head, to my knowledge, it's happened pretty much of the 4 times that we've had a movie released. It only missed one time, and that was Winter Soldier. You're like, okay. How about Avengers? In the case 2012, There was not a new number one for the main book, but there was a new Avengers number one released every year, that book being Avengers Assemble. In 2015, yes, there was. All new, all different Avengers. In the case of Infinity War, the first part, released in 2018, yes. Part 2, which was Endgame, nope. So it's only happened for the first two movies, not in the case of the fourth one. You're like, okay, what about, let's see. Eternals, number one release as the movie came out. Doctor Strange, before the movie came out. Multiverse of Madness, I believe the book had ended prior to that. I think it was launching on this. I think it was launched after that. There wasn't a one release after the movie came out, but not around the same period of time. Fantastic Four, obviously, yes, there was. But what about the first three movies? Was the number one release in 05, 07, and 2015? In the case of those three times, Fantastic Four was never relaunched at any point of those three movies coming out. Never was. And think, okay, what about the Saw Hulk movie? In the case of the Saw Hulk movie, the answer is yes, there was basically a Hulk number one release in 2008. So, was it 08? No, it was released in 2010. No, there actually was not. So, that's a no. So, Hulk, no. Black Widow, I would say no. Like, as the movie came out, they had a new number one release for her title. But what about the Ant movies, the three movies that came out? The first movie, after the movie came out, he got number one. Howard Duck got a new number one after his cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. For Ant-Man the Wasp, which was released in, I believe it was, let's see. I think it was a comic mini-series for that one. Quantum Mania, I think it was an Ant book release, but no ongoing release that year. None. You think, okay. Okay, what about Venom? In the case of all three movies, yes, every time a new Venom movie came out, there was the number one release every year. So, in the case of Venom, yep, all three times. Kraven the Hunter never had a solo book. Morbius did not have a solo book period of time. The last one he had was back in like 2015, I think it was. So it's been a while. So, I'm trying to think here. But what about the Marvel Disney Plus shows? Well, Disney Plus and Netflix. In the case of Daredevil, I would say just the first season he got number one every year. What about season 2? Book is still ongoing that period of time. I think for the last season of the show, I think the book was relaunched number one every year. For Born Again, yes. Season 1 definitely had a relaunch. Season 2, no. Okay. She-Hulk, they had number one release after the show came out. Echo had miniseries. What about Kate Bishop Hawkeye? She had Disney Plus show. At the time the show came, I think she got a miniseries after that, not an ongoing. What about Moon Knight? I think that he didn't have an ongoing at that point in time. It took a few years before he got a new ongoing for Moon Knight. Punisher. For the first season, yes. Season 2, no. For Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Jessica Jones, for those three shows, they did launch number ones for all three characters after the first seasons were completed. But no real launches for season 2. Defenders, that got booked after the show came out. They actually gave a new ongoing series for Defenders, and it did feature that very lineup. So the answer is yes for that one. Trying to think here. Was there any other time they did feature any relaunches for characters? Let's see. Trying to think of the top of my head. Almost forgot Deadpool. For Deadpool, for the first movie, let's see. I think Deadpool, let's see. That was 2016. No, there was not relaunched that year for that one. Deadpool 2, yes, there definitely was. For Deadpool Wolverine, yes. So I would say just 2, 3, and 4. The second movie and Deadpool Wolverine, they both had relaunches every year for that film. Not the first movie. I'm trying to think, was anything else? Oh, Guardians! I almost forgot Guardians. Yeah, I almost completely forgot Guardians Galaxy. The first movie, yes. Second movie, yes, there was relaunches every year. How about Volume 3? For Volume 3, don't think there was. Okay, yes, there was. There was one more volume release. I think this was the Colin Kelly Jackson Lazy Run. So, in the case of all three movies, the first movie, yes. Second movie, yes. Third movie, yes. All three times, yes. So, like Venom, all three times the movie came out, we had number one for that particular show, for that comic. Trying to think, was there any other movies that had relaunches? Let's see. S.H.I.E.L.D. got a comic after the show came out. So, in the case of the movies... Okay, so Black Panther. The very first movie released in 2018. Yes, it was relaunched that year. And what about the second movie? Yes, both times. The Marvels. Well, in the case of Carol Danvers, I think her comic ended around the same period of time of that. Monica Carol got a book just prior to that, and Kamala Khan didn't have a book. Shang-Chi, they launched a book after the movie came out for that one. Thunderbolts, they gave a new comic after the movie came out. Let's see. I think that's it for movies. For TV shows, Inhumans, they had a comic launch pretty much prior to that, and plus the show was terrible. Inhumans was not that good. Runaways, no, there was no comic release that during the whole time the show was on the air. Sam and Cloak and Dagger, nothing. There was no Cloak and... I don't think there was a Cloak and Dagger book released in 2018. I remember there was. For Loki, I think he did get one. I think he got one mini. Yes. Moon Knight, of course, his book actually. Okay, so came out 2022. So I think that the comic launched prior year. So Miss Marvel, no. She-Hulk launched the same year. Whereupon I believe he got miniseries after that. Secret Invasion, there was a miniseries launched pretty much around the same period of time of that. Agatha all along. No, she there was no miniseries for her. Ironheart, no. But I'm thinking that's it. Yes. Oh, I know Vision Quest will come out soon next year. This year. So, the name itself comes from the actual Pop of Vengeance West Coast storyline. Mm-hmm. But in the case of that's pretty much it here that I could think of for books that were either relaunched or got miniseries. This is all off the top of my head. Oh, you might be thinking, what about Agent Carter? She got... There was an annual release for Original Sin, and there was a miniseries Original Sin with initials. I think that was it. That's all they gave for Agent Carter. For her. Mm-hmm. But that's all I'll discuss here with this one. As for what I'm doing next comic restaurant, I have no idea. So next up is going to be Dr. Stone. Okay? Next video. Bye.